Okay, take two on Bible Bet. 61 degrees in Phoenix this 4th day of January, Wednesday already, middle of the week's gone by. Before you know it, the week's gone by, the month's gone by, and the year's gone by. Too fast. Anyhow, part two of Chuck Smith. So you think you're pretty good, eh? Can't live up to the law of the Pharisees. You're not going to make it in. Even if you do strain a net to enter into keeping the law. Jesus told him, you can't keep the law in your flesh. You have to do it in the Spirit of the Lord. And without that, there is no hope. So, here we go.
First of all, you have heard that it was said by those in the old times that thou shalt not kill. Actually, literally, thou shalt not murder. And whosoever shall murder shall be in danger of the judgment. Doesn't the law say that? Yes. It does. Thou shalt not murder. That is the law. Then why does Jesus have any controversy with that? You know what God intended when he said that? You know what constitutes the violation of thou shalt not murder? Not just taking a club and beating the guy over the head until he's senseless. Not just putting a chokehold on until he can't breathe anymore. Not running your sword through his heart. But Jesus said, I say unto you, this is what they've been teaching you, but this is what I say. This is what the law was intended to say. That whosoever is angry with his brother without a cause shall be in danger of the judgment. You see, it is this ungoverned and unreasonable anger that leads to murder. Now, you may have an ungovernable, unreasonable anger. But you may have been able to control it. But you go around constantly seething, constantly angry, boiling inside. Jesus said, hey, you violated that law already in your heart, in your spirit. But because you've never taken a 45 and blown a guy's brains out, you think, oh man, I've never murdered, I feel pretty righteous, And yet all of this horrible anger can be boiling inside of you. Whosoever shall say to his brother, Raka, that is, you vain fellow, shall be in danger of the council. But whosoever shall say, thou fool, shall be in danger of hellfire. Therefore, if when you are bringing your gift to the altar, and you suddenly remember that your brother has aught against you, leave there thy gift before the altar, and go thy way. First be reconciled to thy brother, and then come and offer thy gift. Now, in geometry, I learned that the shortest distance between 2 points was a straight line, and that may be true in geometry, but not necessarily true in your getting to God. Quite often in our approach of God, bringing to the altar our gift, the most direct approach to God is not a straight line, but it is by an offended brother. Go first, be reconciled to your brother, then come and offer your gift. Now he said, agree with your adversary readily, quickly, while you are in the way with him. Lest at any time your adversary deliver you to the judge, and the judge deliver you to the officer, and you'll be cast into prison. Verily I say unto you, you will not come out until you have paid the uttermost farthing. Of course, he's referring there to the debtor's prison and all. So, get along with people. Love people. Now, you've heard that it was said by them of old time, thou shalt not commit adultery. But I say unto you, that whosoever looketh on a woman to lust after her hath committed adultery with her already in his heart. Now, the first part, a lot of you can just, square back with self-righteousness and say, well, I've never committed adultery. But when Jesus interprets it, as God intended, but I say unto you, whosoever looks upon a woman to lust after her heart, then suddenly the chest is sucked in, and we think, wow, that desire constitutes guilt in the eyes of the Lord. And you see the difference, where the way Jesus was interpreting it, it made us all guilty before God. The way they were interpreting it, it made them very pompous and self-righteous. But the way Jesus was interpreting it, it makes us all guilty. And that's exactly what the law was intended to do, to make the whole world guilty before God, so that we would not seek to come before God in our own righteousness, but that we would seek that righteousness that God has provided for us, that we might have that standing before God in the righteousness of Jesus Christ. So the law was a schoolmaster to drive us to Jesus Christ. Now Jesus said, if thy right eye offend thee, pluck it out and cast it from thee. For it is profitable for thee that one of your members should perish, rather than that your whole body should be cast into hell. And if your right hand offends you, cut it off, cast it from you. For it is profitable for thee that one of your members should perish, and not that your whole body should be cast into hell. Now, let me say that in interpreting the Sermon on the Mount, or the words of Jesus Christ, that we must take care in interpreting. Because if our interpretation of a passage makes the passage ridiculous, then we have the wrong interpretation. And in noticing this, if your right eye offends thee, pluck it out and cast. He's not speaking literally of just plucking out your eye and throwing it away because through that eye you looked at a gal and you thought, wee, that'd be nice. Because even if you plucked out your right eye and cast it from you, you still got your left eye. If you're a thief, pickpocket, use your right hand. It offends you. Cut it off. If that were literal, you'd develop the skill with the left hand. So he's not talking literally of plucking out your eye or cutting off your hand. But he is just trying to show to you, because to every one of us, the thought of plucking out our right eye is a very repulsive. Oh, I shudder at that. Ooh, that gives me the chills thinking of plucking out my right eye. Or taking and running my hand through a bandsaw. Whew, that gives me the chills thinking of, my hand lying there on the table of the saw. Picking it up and stuffing it in my pocket, And it's repugnant to me. The thought is repugnant. But Jesus, by this, deliberately speaking of things that are so repugnant to us, is just seeking to show the importance of entering the kingdom of heaven. And in reality, the most important thing for any of us, more important than a whole body, more important than having all the members of my body intact, is that I enter into the kingdom of heaven. And I need to have that kind of a primary emphasis in my life. The kingdom of heaven is the greatest goal, the greatest desire, and thus should bring into my life the greatest sacrifices. And I should not be concerned with what sacrifice I may make in a temporal way, because I'm seeking the eternal kingdom of heaven.
Okay, so that's part 2 of Chuck Smith, and we'll pick it up again sometime as we get to part 3 of Think You're Pretty Good, eh? Watch it. Have a good day. God bless you. Thanks for joining us for